Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, the temperature's in the 60s again, so it's pleasant. I got a little something extra on to be warm enough. And the news stories are more of the same. But there is a sound I hear in the body politic that is at odds with the approach of our elected officials, but especially the Democrats, in my opinion. Front page story in the Post today, down here DC way, is that in Georgia, for example, people are very disappointed. They had promises of things that would happen, and we're not fighting about it. And then they choose exactly the pressure points that all of us have been talking about, which are cloture, do something about it, propose a bill, mean it, fight for it. What are you going to do about all this pushback and all those legislatures that are compromising the vote? What are our courts doing? Now, this is the way I see our path through this. First of all, what is the toxicity level? It's very high, because what happens is Biden gets bad reports for this failure, and as a result, enthusiasm is down, and people believe it's inevitable that we're going to lose and nothing good is going to happen. And you're thinking that right now as I say it, probably. I don't believe that's the outcome. And one of the reasons I have this hope, and John McLaughlin and I have this conversation, he tends toward worries about hopeless, I tend toward hope. That is, if I can find daylight in a bad situation, you work toward that daylight. So what is our daylight here? Our daylight continues to be we the people. And in this regard, I go back to when I was a young man and we had the Vietnam War. It was the people that moved toward action, toward getting out of a bad situation as best we could. Watergate, same thing, it was the people. You know, there was like nobody on the Hill, not enough people on the Hill, and not enough of the, quote, elected officials to make any difference. And we see something like that as we move forward when we have Reagan, and his problem is Iran-Contra. And again, it was the people, you know, making fun of Contra, Fawn, and Ollie. And if you remember the incident, you know who those people are. And then with Bush, the lesser, we have him going into Iraq for no good reason. And I was very proud of Ted Kennedy, who supported me when I ran for Congress and I worked in his campaigns, and who voted against giving authority to Bush to do exactly what he did. And now, you know, we've reaped the whirlwind. We've had all these things. So at every point in a crisis in my lifetime, it is we the people who set it right. Now, we the people includes journalists, you know, like Woodward and Bernstein, for example, and we have current ones. You know, we still have Woodward, which is ironic, and Costa, a young, talented journalist, and there are people at all the other papers. And they've been making some of the best finds that have advanced the public debate. They have been throwing light into darkness to show us what's going on, which allows we the people to be motivated. And some people are demonstrating, and some people are bringing cases. That's what's going to save this republic. Now, what does it take? It takes resolve. It takes the kind of guts that our elected officials don't have. And maybe the reason it works is when finally they're scared, Democrats in this case, of losing their phony baloney jobs, as Mel Brooks would say, then they're prepared to improvise in ways they didn't think possible because they become somewhat desperate. It's a terrible thing to say, but we don't need analysis from our elected officials. We need action, and the action is obvious. Now, I've visited Frost, you know, the road less traveled by, but my point remains the case. A U.S. attorney, a prosecutor, if I have the subpoena power, when I serve a subpoena, the courts react. I'm on the Hill, I serve a subpoena, the courts say, what's the rush? That's the difference. And if we really are so passive, our Democratic representatives from our party, who need to expand in the midterms, if they fail because they fail with insufficient heart, insufficient guts, they don't have fire in the belly to do this, then how will we persist in attacking the autocrats in our system? And the answer is a prosecutor who survives those races still has the subpoena power and can still act. Now, as I'm talking to you right now, in the Southern District of New York, in a case that implicated Rudy Giuliani, it's going forward with Lev Parnas and not with Giuliani. What does that tell you? We heard about the search warrant. We heard about how he was searched and what they thought they found. And we heard how they're looking to disbar him. Hasn't been disbarred, hasn't been charged. We have people in this nation who are walking away from misconduct of historic proportions in terms of the republic. I mean, these, embezzling. Okay, we get an embezzler every once in a while. Oh, they stole $100 million. These guys are attacking the very heart of this nation. Lawyers went into court, lied, sometimes admitted they lied. I'm thinking of Sidney Powell. She said, well, I thought everybody would know those were a lie. I could say whatever I said. Well, the Lewandowski rule, which says if you're not under oath, you can lie. Well, that's just pretty upsetting. I think that the Hill cannot put any witness on the stand up there without asking them to take the oath. And some think it's an insult to tell people to do that people I have a lot of respect for, and I won't name them, but they're gentlemen, if you will. You have to be a gentleman who has an ability to punch somebody in the face. And to punch them in the face in defense of your own integrity, of the nation's integrity, of the programs that we promise to the people will serve them. And the fact that Republicans favor winning at any cost, including the cost of our democracy, that's not an acceptable alternative. There are acceptable alternatives when we disagree about issues, but not about something as basic as our government and freedom in the sense of to be let alone in the traditional sense, not to do things that are themselves criminal, like in the question of the pandemic. So, what am I saying? I'm avoiding the discussions today, the noise, really. On the Hill, we're going to do something. I don't know how they're going to, for example, do the infrastructure by the end of the month. It's not going to happen. It's going to be kicked over to December. And while we're fighting that, we're not fighting to save our democracy. And which is more important? Paving roads or protecting our form of government that allows us to win elections and to pave roads. So don't lose heart. The people are better than their office holders. If there's one lesson I have in life, that is the one thing that is true. The people who get elected, they'll break your heart. And we've all been through it. And we have to not lose our sense of grounding in beliefs that perpetuate the democracy, that guarantee us freedom, that allows us to respect our leaders. And when we don't, we have to give them the heave-ho. So those are my thoughts today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.